Hello, and welcome to our chapter on self control. All right, let's get started. So, let's begin by talking about the things that are rewarding for us. That might motivate us towards certain kinds of behaviors. So, some rewards have more power over us than other rewards do. So, let's put power in the middle of the screen and we'll talk about things that have more power over us or less power over us. So, immediate rewards tend to have more power over us. Even if the reward is smaller, if it's coming to us quickly and immediately, it'll have more power. It's closer to us, it's more directly achievable in our minds. And so that kind of reward has more power. Delayed rewards have less power over us. Even large rewards that are in the distant future will have less power over us than a smaller reward that's available sooner. Think about something like going to college. That's a delayed reward. You're looking at maybe 4 years, if you do it solidly full time, 4 years of work for a reward that's going to be large, but isn't necessarily guaranteed. I think that's what's wrong with delayed rewards, is that we're not sure that we're going to get them. And so it makes it a little bit harder to be motivated by those behaviors or those outcomes that may come later in the future, but we're not entirely positive that they will. So immediate rewards that are smaller, because they are more, I want to say essential, they're right there. You can see them maybe. You know that they're there and you know that it's going to happen. That motivates us more than thinking about something that may or may not actually happen in the future. So I give you an example of going to college, and the delayed reward is that you probably will be qualified for a better job that probably will come with either more pay or more freedom or more status or more whatever it is that we're looking for by going to school and getting a college degree. Let's use something a little bit more negative. Smoking. So people who smoke oftentimes state that they want to quit. It's expensive. They know that it's not good for them. I don't think there's a smoker around who is unaware that there are negative possibilities associated with smoking. But it's difficult to stop smoking because the immediate reward of feeling less stressed when smoking, maybe being able to manage their weight, maybe there are a series of behaviors associated with smoking that are like the process of smoking is rewarding. There are a lot of factors that go into smoking that may be immediate rewards. In some fashion, the act of smoking is rewarding. And you're doing it right now, and it's having those rewards right now. As opposed to the delayed outcome, which non-smokers oftentimes look at these delayed outcomes and say, how can you go for the immediate reward when you have this potentially delayed outcome waiting for you? Smokers oftentimes will say things like, I'm not guaranteed I'm going to get lung cancer. I'm not guaranteed that I'll get any of the negative outcomes that are described. I'm not guaranteed of that, but I am guaranteed that it's going to give me the immediate rewards that I rely on it to give me. And so those immediate rewards are much more powerful because they're known and they're guaranteed. The delayed outcomes may or may not come. So, I'm sorry, I say so a lot. I'm trying to condition myself away from saying that, but I can't seem to stop. So when we talk about the issue of self-control, which is the topic of this chapter, I'm going to try and control myself and not say so anymore at the beginning of a sentence. That's where I'm trying to eliminate. Rewards play a large role in our ability to control ourselves. If we can forego smaller, more immediate rewards That's evidence of self-control. If we can forego small, immediate rewards in the hopes of pursuing the better long-term rewards, that's self-control. We may or may not actually ever get those long-term rewards, which is what makes it self-control. That's the part that makes it, I'm willing to manage my behavior right now in the hopes that I will get something in the future, that it'll be worth it in the long run. So, transition. So, okay, sorry, you are getting the self-control demonstration live. Predicting self-control. Back in 1972, Mischel and colleagues conducted the marshmallow test. And you've probably heard about the marshmallow test. There's actually a book. I got the picture of the audio book because that's the way that I consume these kinds of things, where Mischel describes the protocol in the marshmallow test, and then all the implications that he concluded come from displaying the type of self-control that's necessary in the marshmallow test. Just a quick sort of overview of it. The premise is you put something that the child wants. In the picture, you see that they've placed Oreos in front of the child. In Mischel's original test, it was one of the big marshmallows, not those giant ones that they've invented lately that go on s'mores. Those are new. They didn't have those in 1972. In 1972, the choices were the big normal one that you would roast, at a marshmallow roast, or the really small ones that you would put in Jell-O salad. And really, those were the two things you did with marshmallows back then. So he used marshmallows, and that's how it came to be called the marshmallow test, but really anything that the child would want. So Oreos, I've seen people use like plain M&Ms, 5 plain M&Ms versus 10 plain M&Ms, things like that. So you can use anything that the child desires as your test object. And this picture is a little misleading in the sense that they put all 3 cookies in front of the child right now. Some modern sort of replications of the study have been putting you can have this one, in the case of the picture, you can have this one Oreo right now. Or if you can wait till I come back in the room before you eat it, you can have these 2 Oreos. So some people will put them all in front of the child as a reminder of what they're working for. Others will just do it verbally, and that's how Mischel did it, was more verbally. Here's the one. Now, if you can wait, I'll come back and you can have this one plus another one that I'm going to give you when I come back. So different kinds of, like, you might think, well, that's not really that big of a change, and why'd you bother telling us about it? But it kind of is a big change, because in Mischel's design, the second marshmallow was not there. It wasn't as guaranteed as these 2 Oreos are guaranteed in this child's mind. And this is going to be important in a little bit, so I really want to emphasize this. This child in this picture knows I either get the one on the left or I get the 2 on the right. And if I wait, I get the 2 on the right. So that's the basic setup. Now the researcher leaves the room. And then they time how long the child is able to wait before eating the single marshmallow. And so some of the children waited like 20 minutes. And I think that was the max that Mischel was out of the room, was 20 minutes. But in other research, they've kind of just stayed gone until the child ate what was in front of them, or came back after 12 minutes. There's been different variations on how long and what the child had to do. That's the basic premise of this study. In case you're curious, and if you haven't seen it before, there's a video that I've put into the playlist that will show you some children struggling with this test. And so that's a pretty fun little video to watch. So you can go watch that next. So this book that Mischel wrote included all the conclusions from the study and all the benefits that a child gets over the long run if they were able to resist taking the marshmallow and if they could wait until they got more. And so it kind of made it into the popular culture, this idea that you have a child that either takes the marshmallow or doesn't, that this really says something important about the child and the child's future. So, sorry, I can't see my there it is. I'm going to click on this real quick. If you wanted to, if you happen to have a child or a niece or nephew or access to children, WikiHow will guide you through the steps of how to conduct the marshmallow test yourself. Here they're showing the child having a different kind of candy even. And so it tells you step by step how to conduct the marshmallow test yourself, because don't you want to find out whether you have one of those children who takes the marshmallow? Don't you want to know now? All right, hopefully my acting is good enough that you're getting a sense of my attitude about whether you... Full disclosure, I tested my firstborn child using the marshmallow test when she was 4 years old. I tested my second one also. And honestly, one of them passed the test and one of them didn't. And I was a little disappointed. My firstborn was the one who didn't pass the test, and I was a little disappointed that she didn't pass the test. Imagine my relief when I discovered that maybe parents and people who are close to children are not the best people to be administering the marshmallow test. So in case you're thinking to yourself, oh, if I know a 4-year-old, or if I in the future know a 4-year-old, I'm definitely going to give them the marshmallow test and find out whether this is a child who's going to grow up to have self-control or not. I'm going to try and warn you off of it, because I have to tell you, I don't think it's a good idea. First off, this premise that taking the marshmallow or not measures some kind of innate quality called self-control is not necessarily clear. We don't know that that's what this test is doing. All we know is that you may or may not have taken the marshmallow. That's all we know. We don't know why. We don't know whether it's something that you were born with or that you've accumulated by the age of 4 years old, this tendency to look at the world in a certain way and you're going to forever look at the world in that way. We don't know what it means, honestly. It means in this snapshot moment, you went for the immediate reward instead of waiting for the bigger but delayed reward. That's all we know. And here's an important thing that was finally reported in 2012. Now I have to say I tested my firstborn in like 1997, well before this data ever came out. And when this data came out, I was so relieved, because Kidd and colleagues in 2012 reported that the reliability of the researcher actually modifies or moderates the self-control that's displayed by the child. So what that means is if you have a researcher or a person who's administering the marshmallow test who in the past has sometimes followed through with things that they've promised the child and other times they've let the child down, you have an unreliable researcher. Now think about it. I administered the test on my own 4-year-old. Do you think it's possible that sometimes I told her, oh yeah, we're going to do X, and then we never did X? Or, oh, when we get home, I have a snack for you. And then when we got home, we find out that, oh, you know what, we're out. Or other times where as her mom, I disappointed my little learner. I think there are a lot of times that in her little 4 years of life, she'd been disappointed that I had promised something that I never followed through with. Not because I'm mean or bad, but because of like life, right? So when Kidd and Palmieri and Aslan said, if you have an unreliable researcher, you may have a child who doesn't trust that the delayed outcome is going to be occurring, that the thing that was promised may not really be there. That really struck a chord with me. I thought, that might explain what I observed in my own child. So the next video that you'll see in the playlist is a test following the Kidd, Palmieri, and Aslan design, where you have a researcher who promises a particular sort of benefit, and then for half of the children, they come back and go, oh, I'm sorry, you know what, I don't actually have that thing. And for the other half, here's the thing I promised you. And what they found is that those who had the unreliable researcher were more likely to take the marshmallow than those who had a trustworthy researcher. That's really important. It shows that maybe self-control is not some static, innate quality that you either have or you don't, but instead maybe self-control is a function of your assessment of how reliable the environment is and whether you should take what you've got. Sorry to interrupt myself, but a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush that's the idiom that we have in English that says what you have and you know you have is worth more than two that you may not ever really get. It's almost exactly the marshmallow test, that old idiom. The bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. And so if you have an unreliable researcher or an unreliable situation or an unreliable context, you can imagine why you would have people who take the bird instead of hoping that in the long run they'll get two. You can see why that might happen. And so it may not predict that the person has an innate trait. It may be showing us that there has been experience that has occurred that makes this strategy, taking what you can get, a better strategy. And then it might not be about self-control. It might be about learning. So I thought I'd throw all that out for you. You can go watch this video in the playlist, but just to summarize it, what it'll talk about is how you have an unreliable researcher who says, hey, if you want, you can wait for a second. I'm going to go get the Better Art Kit for you, and you can create your project with the Better Art Kit. But when they come back 2 minutes later, they go, you know what? I couldn't find it. I was wrong. We don't have that. And then they administered the marshmallow test versus what they found was that in that situation where the person came back and said, I couldn't find the art kit. I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to use these crayons that I gave you. The average wait time for children before they ate the one marshmallow was 3 minutes. In the reliable condition where the researcher said, oh, hold on a second, I can go get this Better Art Kit. I'll be right back. And they came back and they said, right, here it is. Here are your art supplies. They were able on average to wait 12 minutes for the marshmallow. So what you see is that unreliable environment seems to predict the ability of the child to wait. Now, you had some children who waited much more than 3 minutes in the unreliable condition, and some children who waited much less than the 12 minutes in the reliable condition. So you have some variability between children, but I think we can probably agree from this research that it's not entirely innate. It's a function of learning and environmental factors. So let's go ahead and take a little break here. Let you watch those two videos so you can see how the original was done and how the Kid et al. Study was done, and then we'll come back and talk about what they assert goes along with waiting or not.